Hello, my name's Adrienne Kaeppler, and I've done a lot of work in museums over the years. And I came up with this book, which is probably what I'm going to talk about today. And it's a book called Holophusicon, which is comes from a Greek word, and it means embracing all of nature. Well, the Leverian Museum was an 18th century private museum that started out in Manchester, England. And it started by a man named Ashton Lever, who was a descendant of cloth merchants from the Manchester area. And he was interested actually in live birds. And he had an aviary of about 4,000 live birds. Then he became interested in birds that were no longer alive, and in things like shells and other natural history objects and specimens. And he then started what became known as the Holophusicon, because he wanted to emphasize that he was going to embrace all of nature. And so he had this museum in Manchester for several years, and then he was persuaded to move his museum to London, which he did. And when he was in London, he was situated in Leicester Square, what is now Leicester Square, and he had this wonderful large house that he made into a museum, and then he called it the Holophusicon. And he was there for several years, but museums are very expensive to operate, including in the 18th century, and he simply couldn't operate it anymore. He then put it up for lottery, which is what you do, or what you did, in the 18th century in Britain. And it went to another man whose name was Mr. Parkinson, who moved it to the southern side of the river into Blackfriars Bridge. And he then had it for about 20 years. And after that, it was sold at auction in 7,000 lots. And so I've spent decades trying to find these 7,000 lots and what happened to all those pieces and where they are today. I guess one of the reasons is that it was open to everyone. And it was a private collection, and although Ashton Lever, when he moved to London, charged a small amount for people to go into it, it was open to everyone. You didn't have to be a scientifically important person. You didn't have to be one of the leisurely people who knew all of the other scientists and could go to their private collections in their homes, like Sir Joseph Banks, for example, who was actually on Cook's first voyage, but he became president of the Royal Society. He had a large collection in his home, but you couldn't go there. You had to be a friend of Joseph Banks, a noted scientist or whatever. Whereas Ashton Lever's museum, anyone could go. You could go to satisfy your curiosity. You could go because there were things there that were objects of wonder. You could go because you simply were interested in bows and arrows. For whatever reason, anyone could go. And I think that was the important key to getting people interested in the world around them, getting people interested in science. And of course, this was before we knew about evolution and so forth. And so this was a very important place that was known to not only the scientists, but to everyone.